morning, children, and welcome to our today's English online classes. So let's continue with direct and indirect speech in today's video. So we need to learn the rules of conversion of direct speech to indirect speech and indirect speech to direct speech in today's class. As we have already learnt in our previous video about the basic rules of declaratives, let's recall. The reporting verb said plus to plus noun or pronoun is changed to told. Other reporting verbs like reply, answer may be used. That is the conjunction that is used in reported speech. And the words like tense, pronouns and words expressing nearness are changed. And in our previous video, we have learned the rules for these changes. Here, reporting verb RV means the reporting verb. Now let's understand the rules of conversion of direct speech to indirect speech for different kinds of sentences. These sentences are the imperatives, the exclamatory sentences and the interrogatives. So let's begin with the interrogative sentences. The reporting verb is changed into ask, inquire, demand, wonder, want to know and question. So instead of just using the word said or told, we may use these reporting verbs. The interrogative form of the sentence must be turned into a statement. As we have already learned, we do not use the question mark in the indirect speech. Therefore, we need to convert the interrogative form into a statement. The conjunction that is not used with who, whom, what, which, when, where, why and how. So if your sentence, that is your question, begins with a WH word, we call these interrogatives as WH questions. So these are information seeking questions. So if your interrogative sentence begins with a WH question, WH word, then we don't use the conjunction that, but we retain the WH word in the indirect speech. Whether or if must be used in reported speech of yes or no questions. So, when we have yes or no questions, we generally begin with auxiliary verbs, wherein the answer would be yes or no. For such kind of questions, we use whether or if as a conjunction. Words relating to tense or pronouns or nearness are changed. As we have learned for the declarative, the same rules apply for the changes of these tenses, pronouns and verbs related to the nearness. Let's look at an example. Is your father still in Moscow? The girl asked. In the indirect speech, she would say, I asked my friend if his father was still in Moscow. If you clearly see, this is a question which begins with an auxiliary verb and it is an yes or no. It is a yes or no question. Therefore, we use the word whether or if in the indirect speech. Look at the other example. When did you break your leg? So this is an information seeking question and it has begun with the WH word when. And in indirect speech, this would be written as, I wanted to know when Ram had broken his leg. So the word when, the WH word when is retained as it is. And we have not used the conjunction that. Next, the rules of the imperative sentences. Imperatives are the orders, requests, advices and so on. Okay, so the reporting verb is changed into a verb indicating a command, request or advice. So as these are the sentences which talk about commands, orders, requests and advices, therefore the reporting verb that is used is like commanded, requested, ordered, advised and so on. The verb in the reported speech is changed into infinitive. And the negative commands and advices are expressed using to plus infinitive. So we use the to infinitive with negative commands. Sentences with let, when they are converted into indirect speech, they can be converted using suggested or proposed plus gerund form, suggested or proposed plus infinitive, or sometimes suggested or proposed plus that clause also. The tense and pronouns must be changed. As we have learnt in the previous video, following the same rules, we need to change the tense and pronouns. Let's look at an example of the imperative sentences. The principal says here, don't waste papers. So she orders here. The principal ordered the students not to waste papers. So we have used the reporting verb ordered as it is an order, and as it is a negative command, therefore we have used the to infinitive, that is to waste. Can you teach me English? This is a request. Riya requested me to teach her English. So as it is a request, therefore the verb requested is written here and we have used the infinitive, that is to teach. Let's look at one more example with a request. Please play the guitar for me. So here the boy reports what his sister has said. My sister requested me to play the guitar for her. So look at the change in the pronouns. Me becomes her. Okay. And here as it is please is written, therefore we need to write the reporting verb requested. Next example. Let us set up a small scale industry. So as we have learnt, when a sentence begins with let, we use suggested or proposed. Okay, and we use the gerund form, or we use the infinitive, or we use the that clause. Okay, so here my friend suggested setting up a small scale industry. Here setting up is the gerund form. Therefore, suggested is used as it is a suggestion. Okay. Now, we would like to know the rules for the exclamatory and optative sentences. Children, what are optative sentences? Sentences which show a kind of desire or wish are called as optatives. Interjections, exclamations like hooray, alas, bravo, etc. are replaced by adverbs. The reporting verb in optative sentences may be changed like this: wish, pray, long for, and desire. So we use these verbs as the reporting verbs, and the interjections, if there are any interjections or exclamations, these need to be removed in the indirect speech and they need to be replaced by the adverbs. The conjunction that is used in the reported speech. While we don't use that in the interrogatives, we use the conjunction that in the exclamatory sentences in the reported speech. For salutation at the time of meeting, so when you meet somebody, how do you wish? Wish plus good morning or evening or night. And at the time of departure, we use the reporting verb bid plus goodbye plus to plus object. We use the to preposition along with the object. And finally, the words like what and how are omitted. Sometimes in exclamatory sentences, to show some kind of surprise, we use the words like what and how. So these need to be avoided in the indirect speech, and in place of that, we need to use the appropriate adverb or appropriate reporting verb. The reporting verb is changed into the following. So as there are different kinds of emotions, so these emotions have to be reported in different ways. For example, I exclaimed with regret, I exclaimed with sorrow, I exclaimed with joy, I exclaimed with wonder, I exclaimed with fear, I exclaimed with anger, I exclaimed in surprise, I applauded. So these are some of the reporting verbs that can be used in the exclamatory sentences, as there are different kinds of emotions. Now let's look at an example. So this example makes clear about the use of the exclamatory sentences in the reported speech. Oh, I've hurt my leg, says the boy. The boy moaned with pain that he had hurt his leg. Here, moaned with pain is the exclamation used here. Okay, and the rest of the sentences you can change it according to the tenses and pronouns. We have removed the exclamation, that interjection oh. Oh, what an excellent idea you have got. An exclamatory sentence. That is, Ravi thinks about his friend that she has got an excellent idea, and his friend reports the same what Ravi tells her. Ravi exclaimed with wonder that I have got an excellent idea. Okay, so now here have got the same thing, that I have got an excellent idea. You need not change the tense. Now, rules for indirect to direct speech. Till now you have learned the rules for conversion of direct to indirect speech. Now let's learn the rules for conversion of indirect to direct speech. Use reporting verbs say or said. Make necessary changes to tenses, pronouns, adjectives, time and place words. So the opposite, the vice versa. What we have done for direct to indirect speech, we have to now convert the tenses and the pronouns and the adjectives in the opposite manner. Add inverted commas to the words spoken by the speaker. As we have removed the inverted commas in the indirect speech, for converting back into direct speech, you have to use the inverted commas. For interrogatives, change the statement form back into the question form and then put a question mark. So, we don't put a question mark in the indirect speech, but when you convert from indirect to direct speech, you need to put a question mark to show that it is an interrogative statement. Use the word please in the direct speech where the reporting verb is requested. So whenever you have the reporting verb requested, when you are converting that into the direct speech, we need to add the word please to convey that it is a request. So these are the rules for conversion of indirect to direct speech. So once you are thorough with the rules of conversion of direct to indirect speech, the opposite rules hold good for the conversion of indirect to direct speech. Now let's understand both the videos in a nutshell. That is, we can talk about the mind map of the topic of the direct and indirect speech. So first we have learned that we need to change tenses, pronouns and other words while converting from direct to indirect speech. We have learned that we need to have the proper choice of the reporting verb to convey the idea of the sentence. Also we have learned that rules of the exclamatory sentences. We have also learned the rules for requests, orders and advice, that is the imperatives. We have also learnt the rules for the questions, that is the interrogative statements. These could be two kinds of interrogatives, the yes or no and the WH, which are the information seeking. So with this, we have clearly understood entirely about the conversion of direct to indirect speech and indirect to direct speech. All these use a set of rules and we need to remember these rules. Keep practicing, children, all the rules. Learn properly and complete the work together, that is in your textbook. Okay. So here the boy says, Jia suggested to complete the work together. So both the children are speaking first in direct speech and then the indirect speech. Hope this topic is very clear to you. Thank you and have a good time.